But is the media's criticism really warranted? Here to react is the Daily Signal's Kelsey Harkness. Kelsey, thanks for being with us. Good morning. Is the media treating her fairly? I mean, she's asked for the dismissal of the Deputy National Security Advisor.
I think the media is overreacting to this statement. Look, I certainly agree that it was highly unusual, but what's not unusual is for any First Lady to have some sort of say about who's working in the White House. Of course, they have their husband's ear, and at the end of the day, what we have here perhaps is more transparency, so at least we know what's going on in the White House. I thought everybody wanted more of that. And also, I think what needs to be said is that Melania has a staff half the size of former First Lady Michelle Obama. And so if this story involves the treatment of her staffers, I think it should be no surprise that she's pushing back and wants them to be treated fairly.
Well, there's so many double standards. You know, if this were a man calling for the oust of someone, then maybe it would be reported differently. But these networks that are bashing her, they don't know the real story. We don't know what's happening inside the White House. Clearly, she has a reason, right?
Right, and I think they're jumping to conclusions. I do hope we find out the full story behind this. But, you know, if this advisor was involved in the mistreatment of any of her staffers or involved in leaking any stories to the press, I think Melania has a right to say, you know, I don't think that I want her working here.
And other First Ladies, they've used their influence within the White House walls, right?
Right, and it's hypocritical because I thought we live in a time right now when we're about female empowerment, and Melania Trump has gotten no credit for what she does. You know, she doesn't just support her husband across the board, everything he does. She's independent and she speaks her mind, and you would think that media on the left and some of the feminists would support her, but instead she's become a punching bag among many of the late night comedy hosts. Ironically, many of them are men.
Well, and listen to this. This was one of the headlines. UK Express said Melania Trump snubbed Michelle Obama. First Lady ignored predecessor's offer for help. Well, the Obamas haven't exactly, they've been critical of this administration. So why would she call Michelle Obama and ask for advice? What's wrong with that? She didn't need it. She doesn't want advice from Michelle Obama. Is that a big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal. I think Melania Trump knows what she's doing. She has been a role model in her role as First Lady, as was Michelle Obama, I would argue. But that doesn't mean that Melania needs to follow in Michelle's footsteps and do what she did and ask her for advice. I think Melania has demonstrated she is well capable of representing the White House to the country and the entire world.
Yeah, and I know that they talked right after the inauguration or right before the inauguration, and she did get advice from Michelle Obama, and they were praising the Obamas and saying such nice things about them around the inauguration time for all of their help and for their advice. But going forward, I guess she hasn't called her, and maybe Michelle took offense to that. But thank you so much for being with us, Kelsey. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. President Trump took a